The night my son chose his wife over me, I did something strange. I smiled. Not a happy smile. Not the kind a mother gives when her child succeeds. It was the quiet smile people give when their heart breaks, but they do not want anyone to see it. The room was silent, except for the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. I remember looking at that clock again and again, as if time might stop and give me a moment to breathe. My son stood in front of me, the same boy whose hand I once held while crossing the street, the same boy who used to run into my arms after school, the same boy who once told me, "Mom, I will always take care of you." That night, his eyes did not look at me the same way. They looked tired, confused, almost distant, and beside him stood his wife, my daughter-in-law. She was quiet, but her silence filled the whole room. No one was shouting. No one was angry. Sometimes the quiet moments hurt the most. My son finally spoke. "Mom, maybe it's better if you stay somewhere else for a while." Those words were soft, but they landed like stones in my chest. For a second, I could not hear anything. Not the clock. Not the rain outside the window. Not even my own breathing. Just silence. A strange, heavy silence. I looked around the living room I had lived in for many years. The small wooden table. The faded couch. The family photos on the wall. Every corner of that house carried memories. Memories of birthdays. Late-night talks. School mornings when I woke up before the sun to pack his lunch. Memories of raising my son alone. I did not cry. Instead, I smiled gently and said something that surprised even me. "If that will make your life peaceful, then I understand." My son looked down at the floor. He did not argue. He did not stop me. And that was the moment I understood something very painful. Sometimes love does not leave with anger. Sometimes it simply steps aside. But to understand how that night happened, we have to go back many years. Back to when my son was still a little boy. Back to when our small house was filled with laughter. Back to when I believed that no matter what happened in life, a mother and son would always stand on the same side. My name is Amina. I am not a person with a dramatic life story. Most of my days were simple. Wake up early. Make breakfast. Go to work. Come home. Take care of my son. But simple lives can still hold deep love. My son, Daniel, was born on a quiet winter morning. The day he arrived, the hospital room felt warmer than any place I had ever known. When the nurse placed him in my arms, he was so small, so quiet. I remember whispering to him, "It's just you and me now." And in many ways, that is exactly how life became. Daniel's father left when Daniel was only 2 years old. There was no big fight. No dramatic ending. Just one day when he packed a suitcase and said he needed a different life. I stood at the door holding Daniel while watching him walk away. At that moment, I made a quiet promise to myself. I would never let my son feel alone. Life was not easy after that. Money was tight. I worked 2 jobs for several years. In the mornings, I cleaned offices. In the afternoons, I worked at a small grocery store. Sometimes I came home so tired that my feet hurt when I walked. But the moment Daniel ran toward me shouting, "Mom!" the tiredness would disappear. Children have that kind of magic. Our house was small, just 2 bedrooms and a tiny kitchen. But it was filled with warmth. On weekends, we cooked together. Daniel loved helping me stir soup or cut vegetables, even though his pieces were always too big. Sometimes he would say proudly, "Mom, when I grow up, I will cook for you every day." I would laugh and answer, "I will hold you to that promise." In the evenings, we watched old movies together on the couch. Sometimes he would fall asleep with his head on my shoulder. I never moved him. I just sat there quietly, listening to his breathing, hoping time would slow down. Because mothers know something children do not. Childhood passes very quickly. Years moved faster than I expected. Daniel grew taller. His voice changed. Soon he was a teenager with big dreams. He wanted to study engineering. He wanted to build things. Bridges, buildings, machines. Anything that made the world stronger. I was proud of him. Very proud. But I also noticed something else. Life was beginning to pull him into new directions. Friends, school, a future beyond our little home. And that is normal. Children are meant to grow. Still, every mother feels a small ache when she realizes her child is slowly stepping into a life where she is no longer the center. When Daniel went to college, the house became very quiet. Too quiet. For the first few months, I kept cooking too much food. Habit is hard to break. I would prepare dinner and then remember he was not there to eat it. Sometimes I would pack the extra food and send it with him when he visited on weekends. He always hugged me tightly before leaving. "Don't worry, Mom," he would say. "I'm still your boy." And I believed him. Years passed. Daniel graduated. He found a good job in the city. I still remember the day he brought someone home to meet me. Her name was Sophia. She stood politely at the door, holding a small box of sweets. "Hello, Mrs. Amina," she said with a nervous smile. "I've heard so much about you." She was beautiful in a quiet way. Soft voice, kind eyes. At least, that is what I thought during our first meeting. That evening, we sat together around the dinner table. The same table where Daniel had done his homework for years. The same table where we had celebrated birthdays with homemade cake. Sophia spoke gently. She asked about Daniel's childhood. She laughed when I told her stories about him learning to ride a bicycle. Daniel looked happy, and a mother notices that immediately. After dinner, he helped me wash the dishes. "Mom," he said quietly, "I think she might be the one." I looked at him. For a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be. Then I smiled and said, "If she makes you happy, then she is welcome in this family." At that time, I meant those words with all my heart. I truly believed our family was simply growing. But sometimes life changes slowly. Not in big dramatic moments. Just small shifts. Small silences. Small misunderstandings. The kind that seem unimportant at first, but slowly grow into something much bigger. And looking back now, I can see that those small changes had already begun. We just did not recognize them yet.